I hope you are having a fantastic week so far. For those who are new in the space, this is our how-to sessions held on Tuesday, Wednesdays, open forum. You can ask any questions, any level. We basically will share into the knowledge gain. To keep it organized, the only thing that I ask is that when you're ready to ask a question, you raise your hand. I bring you into the fold, and everybody will hear and benefit from the share. I also have Robert assisting me with the chat. So if you rather ask your question directly into the chat, you can, or bring up a subject of conversation in the chat, you can, and we will work things out that way. Good for everybody so far? If everything is good, you can put a one into the chat. I'm gonna drop the links where basically everything that we do here will be able to you will be able to find a recap of it, case study, exercises and such. So I recommend that if you haven't, take a look at these links. And for the rest, we are ready to dive in. So I hope you have questions today. I didn't get a chance to prepare a specific case study since I was shifting between location myself. So it's going to be most likely you're going to see some updates in the team content that I offer during the course of this week. For the rest, the floor is open. Any questions? I am ready. Thank you for the thumbs up, Lori. Perfect. Go ahead. You can ask your question, Lori.
Okay, it's 6 a.m. here.
Wow, super early.
And I was just on Elizabeth Larson's.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been with NowSite for 3 years, and I've seen it through the transition to what it is. And now things are starting to really pop. And I did not really pay attention when people went over courses, creating
Mhm.
courses recently. And I have a new business partner that I need to create courses for.
Okay,
So I'd like some guidance on that.
absolutely. We'll take a look at that. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you all see it. What Lori is referring to is the option, the add-on value that you will get with the unlimited. You have the opportunity to create teams such as the one that I'm using actually to share content with you. And the link is part of those that I shared. This is the environment that we're speaking of, and this is the one that she's actually hinting at. It is actually an easy process. The hardest thing about creating course is actually having the content ready. You can see here, for example, I was doing a few new ones there just to test a few things. As you are seeing, I'm going to delete them and start the process again so that we can use this as an example. Okay. The difference between courses and team content generally has to do with the fact that to follow the courses, there has to be some kind of opt-in process. If I'm giving you a course on NowSite, you'll notice that the recommendation will be, well, you need to have this particular service with NowSite to be able to follow the course, right? So it's really just a breakdown of service of an approach based on the conditional opt-in. This is how you use the course. For the rest, creating it is fairly simple. So you would come to the course section here, right? You would look at the add function. When you click on add, you will see that it's going to pop up with this option. It's going to ask you, well, what is the course, right? So for example, email setup, if that was the course, right? The title, and then the description. For example, learn how to set up your email in NowSite. This is actually a course that I'm going to do, a short form course, because I realized also through the week that I was getting these questions about how to set up your initial email for your campaigns. We discuss the email onboarding sequence. We discuss preparing assets for it, but we didn't necessarily go over that first initial step, setting your email in NowSite. So we'll do so. But coming back to this process, so now I'm setting up the general course, right? The title, the description, and any content here that I want as thumbnail, right? So here, for example, I would upload my content, right? Here, I'm just going to use the default picture that I had, and I'm going to place it here. And you can see that the picture technically with a description of your course would appear here. Actually, let me do this one more time. I do have the email exercise here, so I'll work with one of these packages here. I'll take this here, and I'll repeat this one. For example, I'll take email. So you see, it's going to bring the thumbnail that you want to assign for this course, right? And you have your description, you have the title, publish. Okay, that will make that course already available, right? Or listed, but the course itself will be empty, right? Because we're giving you basically the outline of the course, and therein, we're going to come and break down the lessons, right? Now, according to the course process that you set forward, there will be basically chapters or lessons as they're called it in course. So click add, and now you see the course option is no longer available since we are in the course setting. And what we're going to be doing is adding our the series of lessons, right? And this is when, for example, you're going to be asked to provide the email, sorry, the URL for your video link, either on Vimeo or YouTube. Which one, which platform have you decided to use, Lori? Have you
YouTube,
made a choice already?
YouTube.
YouTube, perfect. So perfect. So I'll go to YouTube. One second here. Just gonna grab my link. Where's my the footer there is hiding. Perfect. So at that point, of course, you have prepared the course process offline, YouTube in this case. You're going to go to YouTube and start basically grabbing the lessons that pertain to that. I'm just going to repeat this one here, which was the course exercise. So you have your video. Of course, you now know how to import videos or to embed video across any marketing asset. It's the same thing for your course section. I grab my link, come back, oops, sorry, come back to it, and I will select the appropriate platform, paste in the URL, and basically the instruction will already be laid out for me to follow, right? And basically we're going to go into it, the title. For example, setting thing up your, right? That would be the first step. If you're going to be emailing from NowSite, you're going to need basically to set up your email. I'm actually going to call it first step. And at that point, basically description or the course, the lesson course. Okay. Same, you have option of uploading content, right? So for example, if I have a picture pertaining to that specific course set, I would do, for example, I'll put the intro for this one, right? And any other content would be outlined in the description. At that point, publish. Okay, so now you'll see that the actual course itself will be laid out with the description, right? And this basically will set the pace on the usage. So if I come back now, you'll notice that that course will appear. Of course, I have a duplicate uh, thumbnail there for this one, for email setup. And if I click on it, it's going to open up basically the series of listings. Okay, so setting it up is actually fairly easy. The hardest part in the course is really the content. And that is right, tentatively, because now you can come back to your AI, for example, and build this course. Can you build me a course on setting up an email and the things to follow, right? And it's going to basically go through a description. Of course, you might have to tweak it a little bit so that it follows in the NowSite step-by-step process. Okay, so creating a course is usually mapping out the steps that you're taking. Actually, here, I'll show you in regards to this conversation and this particular course or lesson that I hinted that I was working on. Uh, you will see that I actually started a document, right? I'm going to share it here, right? And I think this is really the first stage preparation, as always. right? What am I going to come into this space and do, right? So already I had this project in mind. So I started a Google. I have a basic description. I've mapped out the steps, right? And I'm formatting on how I'm going to present this document. Most likely bring in some screen captures for the document, the process that I will explain visually in the video, right? Remember that as far as I understand, when you're building a course, there's three things. There's the lessons, there's the exercises, and there's the uh, test, right? The final evaluation process that will allow you to mark this as completed, right? We create the video content, we offer it. Before video content, as you're seeing, we have to map out our own journey through this process. Remember, notice how these terms keep coming back? Mapping out your journey, preparing yourself, right? Every time. You can't go into an event. As soon as you start a journey, you might need more going forward, but you want to prepare the basic as you know them. Once that is in place, basically all you do is repeat the process, use the AI, for example, to elaborate on it. Does it make sense, Laurie, so far?
Absolutely. Crystal clear.
Questions on which you want me? Go ahead. Sorry, you
I
said
would
I
love
cut
though
you off
for
the
you
last
to,
part.
you know, that flow chart that you made up that you show all the time of when, you know what I'm talking about, right? That is like,
The the
yeah,
website mapping flowchart.
yes,
Okay,
sir.
you would want me to go over that?
Yes, sir, because that kind of goes into all of this because a course is going to be taken online.
Hmm.
So it would make sense to have the elements of what you have in that mapping component.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
the mapping the process, just mapping your process, just like mapping your website applies all the time. Definitely, I can do a roadmap on the step-by-step process to set up your email. Is that what you're looking for me to do?
absolutely. To show everybody, because that's a step by, that's setting up everything, right? Because that
Absolutely.
flows, because
Mhm.
everything flows together. Because I'm going to be emailing people about the tree school. They're going to have to log on to the courses. They're going to, I mean, it all kind of, they're going to be notified by email to make sure that they log on. The test results are going to be sent by email. So, I mean, yes.
Absolutely. In terms of workflow for the specifically for the email tool or for the whole of the platform, sorry, just me for me to be precise there.
I would say the whole thing because I'm business building for him. But email is
Okay.
definitely like one of it's the primary component because I'm in Hawaii.
Okay, absolutely. Because again, everything starts in the business profile because the content of the email, for example, will be structured around that conversation, right? So every time you want to start here, and this is for everybody, whatever we do across the platform, we'll start here. All before I go into the full flow, I'll have Bob's question and maybe integrate that in the conversation, the flow to come. Do you have a specific questions about Bob?
Yeah. How do I organize my links a little better? Like, I'd like to put all the videos in one folder, you know, all my personal videos in there, stuff like that. Is there any way of like,
Do you want to organize?
yeah,
Sorry, I lost the last part. You said, is there any way of organ?
yeah, I want to know how to organize my links better.
What the first thing I did myself was basically open up a Google Doc and create that conversation there so that I always have it. This was offline. You can also do it online, basically. If you have your team section, you can create a team and have all these organized in your team section, right? And you can have different chapters. For example, contact information, conversion links, booking information, and you can have that this way. So you can actually use these theme section as a personal repertoire for your own links. So you have them to use when you're using the board application.
Ah,
Make sense?
okay. Yeah, I might have to
So
upgrade that.
so far, yeah. But let's start with the basic. Uh, for example, coming back to using document base, and then I'll go to the workflow for Lori. Here, for example, I did a list just like I said or started for the email setup. Same thing here. Grab the Google document, my NowSite marketing asset. Of course, you have your social link and contact information. For me, that goes together. Then I have a business link. So everything pertaining to business, whether it's demonstration of product, whether it's showcasing services, whatever it is, business related, will go in this section. Then I have the training and webinar assets, right? So basically, I categorize these assets depending on their function. Some of them could overlap, right? Because the contact information could serve also as information leading to the webinar, depending on how you're setting up. But this is basically the big categories. Once you have that organized, this is with you, and you can copy, paste it, and organize it on different platform, depending on where you're going. But social media links and contact info, business links, then you have any webinar training links, right? Then I have the video library, right? Things that, okay, well, I'm going to go even within your video library. I haven't started breaking it down here, but since we have three services, I would have a video library link for my AI, one for marketing, the other one for prospecting or team building, right? And that's it. Oh, one thing that we fail to usually put is income streams assets, right? We don't talk about that often in this space. And I think it's important, right? Just as we are creating our video links, our training links, our business links, let's also start listing our income streams asset. Where is my income coming from? Now site compensation plan. Okay, I'm going to put it here. Am I getting booking payments? Okay, well, booking fees, that's an income stream. Am I selling documents? Especially if you're thinking about putting courses together, right? These process, if they're well established, can be used with NowSite or any other tool. So if you're selling your documents, if you're going to be selling ebooks, list them, because then you know when you're creating content what this will go to or what this stands to generate, right? For example, last time we discussed about the difference or the 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 fact that some would use Vimeo or YouTube as opposed to other platform. Well, if you decide to go with YouTube, keep in mind that you have that stream of income if you get to a certain level. If you decide to go to Vimeo, well, you have these options, these membership tiers that can become income assets. And this is important because often enough we go into this exercise without necessarily having mapped out where we are getting our income from. And this is important because this is one of the most important call to action. If you want to get started, go to this link and make the first step. Sign in, pay. And I have to understand basically what that pertains to. It brings us back to also the tool here or the case study that we started with, embedding payment links, creating using the code snippet to generate, for example, a payment link for direct payment to your PayPal. Okay, so that's the simplest form to answer your question, Bob. I would do so. Start with that. Take a blank sheet, outline the major headers of your categories, and start putting your links there. Save it. Once you have that, You can do anything with it. If you want to have it yourself as a hidden website that nobody knows, you can create the link tree. I see a lot of us, some of us are doing that. For example, Keisha has a link tree. You can do that. But that is not something that you would offer the client. It's yours, right?
Mhm.
I would suggest whenever you're putting work also in the marketing space, make sure that this also can be shared to your audience. So simplest form, list your link on a document, have them ready. And then after that, sky's the limit with what you want to do with the whole of that list, or you know where to find specific lists. It's knowing where to find your assets. Agreed?
Yeah. And one more question. How would you attach your digital um, business card? Like I have to go to outside of Now site. I want to write a email and I want to attach it and make it look good.
Outside of NowSite or within NowSite?
Um,
Well, I'll
yes,
put it this way. I'll
anyway.
answer both. I'll answer both. If you have a link, this is the digital asset. If you're not in NowSite, you can take this and make it a part of any content that you create. However, within NowSite, you want to share that link either through the website, either through the email, or even when you're doing the messages, the hot links, right? I'm going to cover that and then I'll answer Arba's question. But I need to come back to Lori's demonstration about email, the step by step. So here, to answer that last part or to show you that last part, because this is where you're taking advantage of what tools NowSite offer. I'm going to start here in the contact, right? So for example, I'm going to bring the last contact that I have here, Laura. And what I'll do is, you see here, messages. Technically, you're going to want to message her. And if you're going to do so, take advantage of the fact that you have the AI writing conversation in your voice. Then after that, cold outreach. What you can do at this point is also start listing your links here. You see attachment here. This could be what you are also looking to use. You won't be necessarily categorizing them, but you can list them in sequence. And by naming them, you'll know basically what they're pertaining to. Right. So here, for example, if I wanted to set to have her look at my AI Vimeo video, I could. In this case, this is my digital card. So if I wanted to attach my digital card, this conversation, click, and I have it. Right. And here, for example, build a rapport. Uh, won't speak about business. Let's connect for more. Thank you for joining my team, for example. Thank you for joining the team. And let's connect for more. And by generating that, I would have the message and the link. And it's embedded already. This is actually how we recommend messaging clients. You have the tool, you have the power, why not use it? Make sense? And you have the option of taking this message through any social media, but also to the personal lines, right? If you want to do this via email, which definitely doesn't fall into a good planning since you already have the email tool that you'll use, but you can do that if the client prefers or does not have any social media. We'll have to connect first on email before we continue. Good. Does that answer your question, Bob? Perfect. Arba, I'll take your question.
Okay, hi, good morning.
Good
So
morning.
I'm just now um, creating courses because of what I've seen you do. And I see a link
Mhm,
for the, I see a link for within, okay, so like you have courses. So
mhm.
go ahead and click one of your courses. You'll see what I'm
This
saying.
one here, this
Yeah.
one is the most
Okay.
complete one.
So I
Okay.
see links for the individual sessions that I could
Hmm.
send someone,
Hmm.
but how do I send a link to someone just for one course, for the entire course? So for the entire course, not just for one of the trainings within the course.
Okay. As you can see, that option is not available. What you would do is give them basically the steps, send them I'm going to send you the link, the invitation to join the team. And once you join in, go to the course section and navigate. That would
Right,
be the
but
best way.
that gives them access to all of the courses. What if I
Mm-hmm.
only want to give them access to one of the courses, not all courses?
Well, in this case, as you can see, we only have the option of giving access to all the courses. Um, do you have an alternative solution, Robert?
Yeah, the easy answer is just give them the direct link. You had to put it up on YouTube to put it into your course to begin with.
It is true.
No. The purpose, my understanding, the purpose of a course, if
Mm-hmm.
Virgil, if you go ahead and click on your course, you have your course creating your digital card, and that
Mm-hmm.
consists of several videos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it a course. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that you want to control who is able to view your courses. So number one, I don't want to have to give someone four individual links that comprise of one course. And I certainly don't want to have it to be, yeah, I mean, basically that's it. You don't want to have, I don't want to have to give four links
Okay.
to a course.
Let me answer that question. I'll put things in perspective because this becomes a matter of how you choose to approach the course environment. Because, for example, giving you access to all the course content eventually is the goal, right? Remember that in this case, these um, lessons or these courses actually follow. You have to start creating your digital card, then understand the email process, then go to the deeper section. So when I invite you to my course section, first, it already means that you have opted in into the course ideology that you will be taking a series of courses, right? And just like at university, there is no school, for example, that will hide the entirety of their program. They will show you this is the program, but if you really want to, this is how you start, right? So inviting them, for example, to the section and having them access all the course listing is not necessarily bad strategy, depending on how you want to drive that, right? And if, for example, I want you to discover the specific tool as you want, and I want to say, and that brings me to another question. If I'm sending you, for example, this specific link, why am I doing that? Is it to entice you into coming in and getting the whole of what I have to offer? Why exactly? Because I want to better understand your approach. If I have a whole course section, a whole category of courses that is meant to keep you into this system, learning and growing. Okay, first thing, I would want to understand your strategy behind sending a specific link. Either it's I want this information to see what you can do. Here's a link, demo, take a look at it, and then come back and get the rest, as you should. And the longer you stay, if you come in here and you see a wealth of courses to take, I'm going to be spending time here. You're already formatting your mind to go through each one of these courses, each one of these lessons. Right? So I would need to understand a little bit more about your approach first. Why is it that I would want to send one specific link, which case scenario, so we can better address it? And then the deeper question, I want you to take courses just like a university. You're going to go through this process for several years. Here's the full course. Here's the full program, the journey before you. It comes back to that prospect journey thing. We're going to take you from A to B and going through these different stages. Let's start with the first step. So I would need to know exactly also why is it that we wouldn't want them to see the wealth of knowledge that is offered to them once they come into our course content. Can you give me a
Right.
little bit more pointers to that?
I could, but I'm not going to get into that because I think I'd like Keisha looks like she has the answer
Sure.
that
Okay.
I'm
Well,
looking
we'll
for.
take a look at in order there we'll have Audrey, then we'll have Tisha. Audrey, did you want to add or ask a question? If you are asking a question or adding, let us know. We'll have you go before Tisha or whatnot.
Well, I believe Keisha's going to have a great answer.
Sure.
I was in that segment today and I was trying to locate it. I saw an option where you can hide courses, but I can't find it. So I'm going to let Keisha take it away.
No, that can answer. When you're creating the courses, it's going to let you know from the beginning. So here, for example, when you're creating it, I'll do this again. This,
It's right there on the left-hand side, but
oh, oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't even notice here. Well, this is for the whole. This is for the whole courses. However, I think she wanted to hide a specific one, or am I mistaken, Audrey?
No, you're absolutely right, but I thought I saw it on the right quadrant, but
Yeah,
I'm a novice,
I
so I'll look another time.
no, I saw it myself here. I'll just show you as well. So I'll say title here. And Keisha, you can time in for your answer while we're doing this.
So because I have multiple businesses that
Hmm.
don't necessarily overlap, I immediately created a separate course for each of the stuff that I was doing
Hmm.
as separate teams. But if you can hide a course inside, like if I have three courses in one, I can hide one. I'm about to experiment and see if I can do that. But the simple answer would be create multiple teams, and each team have different ones. And if you're going to do it in levels, like the first one only has access to course one, the second one may have course one and two, and the third one may have all three courses, just randomly doing whatever. If you're doing a progressive type of thing, if you're doing multiple business types, then you can use the same concept, just different courses altogether in each one. But that's just what I did. That's what I did when Teams first came out. I automatically did it. It wasn't. I never even thought about putting them all together in one place and only giving access to one.
Mm.
And that makes sense. That's actually the answer I was looking for because just like Keisha, I have multiple different I have different client bases. And
Hmm.
I do not want, and I do a lot of my selling prior to giving them access to the course. So
Hmm.
I don't want to give someone access to a course about making videos when that is an email client. So what Keisha said makes sense is that I would only give someone access to a course. So I would create a team just for the training that they signed up for.
Okay, like I said, coming at the beginning, it's a matter of perspective, right? Keisha offered an approach that sounds easier and more organized. But then my question or my concern here in the approach is the workload. I'm creating several teams for specific purposes, as she said. It means that each team has to be set up for that purpose, right? Is that really what I'm trying to do? If I'm looking at different products altogether, yes, they need their different teams because they're following different conversation path. So yeah, I agree with creating multiple teams if you have different conversation. But if we're looking at one course and we're going to create teams for each courses, you see, I'm not sure if that aligns with the process properly. Okay. The simplest way, for example, as Robert put forward, is that, well, if I'm trying to get you to watch a specific course, that course had to be published on the appropriate platform, Vimeo or YouTube. And therein, I'll have all the course content, the documents as well. Because remember, what you're doing here is redirecting them to the actual place where the course is taking or is being hosted. Right. So if you have created these courses outside the platform and you're organizing them into the platform, if you want to send them separately, then it falls back to what Robert offered. I take the course itself or the lesson itself, the item itself, the asset itself, and I send it to the person. And that is done. If there's a process that I want them to follow, within this scope, this is when these courses are basically put forward. Remember, when a prospect comes into the space and looks at this as a whole, it brings them back, it brings us back to what we were saying. This is his prospect journey. This is the mapping of what he will need to go through. Coming back to, for example, what I was trying to finalize with Lori J is that I come into this space, the roadmap is there. A, set up your email account. B, do this. You have to trust. There's also one thing that at least I work upon. I trust with the aptitude of my client to understand what they're seeing. Why? Because I kept it simple. If it's simple, everybody will understand the process, even if at glance it might seem confusing. When they start peering into it, oh well, step one, step two, step three. And if I receive the link, a specific link at step four, it means that that's my level. I can continue, or I'm being introduced to that content and I'll be forced to go back from the top. Some people will do that. They'll send you the in between step to force you to acknowledge what came before and what will follow. What do you think about that positioning, Arba? Oh, sorry, Robert. You want to answer before?
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying because you and I constantly say the same thing. We just say it differently. And we've had this conversation before, if we remember, when we were talking about video hosting and where to host it and all
Mhm.
that other fun stuff. For myself, right, we all have to understand people only know what you tell them. So if you give them a block of instruction, you say, here's where you sign up, here's where the information is, they're going to follow that. For me, as an example, I've got a 5 day boot camp, right, that I offer for free. If they want it, cool. They go right into the Now site, into the team section. They can access all 5 days of those. If I'm talking to somebody specifically and it's maybe about day 5 where we're talking about social media strategies and I only want them to have that content, then it's just easier for me to just grab the direct link and here's that content. But do I want to do that? Just like Virgil saying, think about that customer journey because really that's what it's about, right? The easier that journey is, and them not having to jump through a bunch of hoops and okay, well, I'll send you this one here, and then maybe we'll sign you up in the team link here later. Like none of that, none of that needs to happen. Don't confuse the process. Make it simple. You know,
Mhm.
like just give them the link.
Yeah. Kissing it for me is not just for the client. It's for me first. I need to keep it simple for myself because remember, we are gunning on volume at one point. So the more step I have to repeat, two step might not be complicated. Two clicks might not be complicated. But if I have to do it 2,000 times, that's 4,000 clicks. That's a lot of workload. I might want to cut that into one click to complete the process. All right. So
You
keeping it
know, real
simple is
quickly,
also for us. Go ahead.
real quickly, Armin's talking in the chat here saying my
Mhm,
courses are not free, which is again why I started off that whole initial conversation about not wanting to have my stuff on YouTube or on Vimeo.
mhm,
Right? If you're having content that you're charging people that's not free, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, take it for what it is, it shouldn't be on YouTube and it shouldn't be on Vimeo, which
mhm.
kind of leads, kind of holds or ties our hands to be able to even use courses.
Okay.
No,
So
you can
what do you
have,
use?
I agree that it should not be on Vimeo because you don't have any way to really control it. But on Vimeo, you can. You can have courses on Vimeo and have it that people cannot access the links unless
At,
they get some kind of
at an additional cost, correct?
well,
Absolutely.
that's the
And
level
this,
that I have.
one
Cool.
second. This is basically what I came in speaking about income streams. Because in this case, you're now looking at your Vimeo as an income stream. And to answer your question, Arba, if I'm publishing content on Vimeo, there's free content for everybody, the funnel process to come in, and there's opt in content. Meaning what? At any point in time, if you come into your course section and these are conditional to an opt in, because remember, I have to go to Vimeo and sign into that Vimeo account. And if this course is part of a tier membership, then I have to opt into that tier membership. Remember, I spoke about the difference between team content and courses forcing a sort of opt in. Here, for example, I'm telling you, you can take these courses for free, but to actually be able to practice them, you need to opt into the NowSite tool. So that's the conversion. In your case, you come in here and you have a draft of this tool. When you're going to want to access it on Vimeo, guess what? It's going to bring you to Vimeo, but to access the tier paid content, you're going to have to buy in. And that's the process here. So anything you have here is actually a sales asset. Because if I'm sending you this course and you click on it and you're interested in the brief, because in the end, this becomes a brief of these courses. If I'm sending you this link, all you're getting to see is this. But the rest, to actually experience the course, you have to go to that channel. And this is where you are forced to opt in. This is the idea behind these tier membership. YouTube, free content, free marketing. Vimeo, paid service, conditional access, income stream for me. Same thing for Patreon, for example. We can't integrate Patreon links here, but Patreon is a member tier membership creating content. So my content there, you have to pay to get access to it. But you can look at the general presentation and make a decision. This is what it comes down to. So I think it's about just going over the strategy that you have in understanding. In all case scenario, if your courses here are part of a paid gateway, then for me to access the full course, I need to go to that gate. I need to pass these requirements. Of course, I can watch the video, right? But I think one of the things also is that depending on the secrets that you are embedding in your courses, most of the time, one lesson won't be enough for you to get the gist of all things. And remember, like I said, for courses, for me, there are 3 stages. There's the actual lesson, there's the exercises, and there's the evaluation, right? So these are points of conversion. I can give you the content, but to actually take ownership of that, you have to do the exercises and you have to come to the evaluation. These are paid services, right? So it's how you approach your process. I think this is really where we want to look at, but there are no wrong answers in what we discuss. It's really about strategy and the amount of workload that you're going to put before you, right? The key option is a valid one, but the amount of workload behind that becomes a little bit complicated just to segregate conversation, right? So it's really that. What do you think about that opinion, Albert?
I think that's great. The way that you put it out there, it's absolutely correct. There's no real wrong answer. I mean, everybody's going to do it the way that they want to or the way that they've learned it. Just, we're given our experience. That's all we can do.
The most important thing, again, is that fundamental value. If you're applying the KISS process, keeping it simple, it's for your customers, but it's also for you, right? So whenever you make a decision on what process you will follow, keep that in mind. And in terms of conditional access, well, to get the full of the course, at one point, you will understand that you have to opt in. Of course, we have all learned by grabbing information here and there, the free stuff as much as we could, and we had to pay for it at one point. It's inevitable. At one point, if you really want, you're going to have to pay to play. Simple as that. And the idea is that getting that interest to the point where the client is, well, why beat around the bush? I've looked at the first content. It's trialed and tested. I even applied some of it. I want to go deeper. I'm going to pay. And this actually can get you, instead of opting in at the beginner, they were opting at the higher tiers of your service because they already experienced it. Go ahead, Andrew. Audrey, sorry.
Excellent training. I just missed one word from you. You said the 3 things in the course should exist. One was lessons. One was, I missed the second, and the third was evaluation. What was the second?
Exactly. Well, it's the practical exercises, right? Remember, when in doubt, go back to school. What happened when we were going into school? We walked into the class, open your books. I'm giving you the lessons. And this is why, for example, I give you course content as we are explaining it because I see myself back into school. I had to come with my notebook, the blank one where I write my notes, and
Right.
then the course content that the teacher was going over step by step. And guess what? They gave us all the books at the beginning of the year. But how many of us read all through that content before the first trimester?
Yeah.
None of us, right? So the book was there, but it's sitting on the shelf. Until we get to class, open first chapter, this is what we're going through. The teacher is actually just explaining what we're reading and then telling us, go back home, practice the exercise, and guess what? At the end of the week, test. So a learning process, and that comes back to what we discussed in the learning curve or the learning cycles. The learning cycle is three-phase. You learn, you practice, I evaluate you to tell you if you mastered the subject. And if you have, we go to the next level. If you don't, guess what? See you next year. You will learn again. Right? So
Excellent.
that's the process. Once you complete that learning cycle, then I get you to the next one. You have completed the learning cycle. We start second stage.
Got
And it's
it.
the same cycle again. So lesson, exercise, evaluation. And evaluation is where your money comes in, right? Because you can get the lesson for free. You can get the exercise for free. But how can you confirm that you've mastered it? Book a meeting with me, and this one will be a paid one. You
Hey,
got a lot of stuff free, right? So you got to pay the
or
piper.
or like most cases, we read the first chapter and then go to the back of the book for the answer.
The speed process, we try. We try. But
See,
again, I think all of this for me, I chucked it into karma, meaning that the more free stuff I give, the more paid customers I'll get back. The less free stuff I give, well, the less paid customers will come. Not interested. Vimeo was a perfect funnel exercise, Arba. I went there when I started doing this. I got excited. What? I could put documents, I could put this, I could put that, and then two videos. What the deal? I need to pay more. And then all of it, the pop-up text that you spoke about were there. Perfect funnel. They gave me access to everything. But for me to go forward, I need to pay to play. Okay, so that is the intent here. Okay, if I give you, for example, the lesson link is to show you that this lesson is real. But to actually experience it, you're going to need the notes. You're going to need the exercise. This is you paying the ebook. Here's the demo. Download the ebook for complimentary $1.99. I mean, you got $2 in your pocket. Invest that on your knowledge. And then when you're done, well, to review what you've done and to take full ownership of my knowledge, come and book with me. My hours are usually $100 an hour, but since you took my course, you'll get a complimentary meeting for 25, one third of the giving you a gift, right? So where are you placing your sale? What stream of income is this course meant to generate? If it's the paid membership, well, the platform that you choose will handle that. Vimeo, Patreon, whatnot. If you choose to sell the knowledge that you have crafted and that has value, ebook, audiobook. We spoke about that. An ebook turning into an audiobook. So you can actually hear this conversation, me walking you through the process, right? You can get the course for free, or you can get the video demo course for free. But to get the actual exercise book, to get the subject matter and the extra ebook guidance, there is a cost. And at the end of that, to consolidate your knowledge base, come to the person that has given you that, book a meeting, and we will consolidate. There are some fees, right? Depending on the workshop that you want to book a workshop. You can, if you notice in my initial team, the IMI content creator, well, when I started this, the idea behind this content was driving you to a workshop, right? A power workshop for people that are not necessarily from NowSite, 3 hours that allows me to go over your asset, go over your conversation, line you up, and show you a difference. At that point, if you want to come back, then we can discuss a recurrent half fee process for you. I can start a 30-minute free evaluation because I want to sell you 3 hours and more. What is the income stream? This is one of the things that we tend to miss, or not necessarily miss. We take it for granted. We are in network marketing. We have our conversion links. It comes with a compensation plan that is on autopilot. I just have to sign up. The money will come in. Okay, that is by default. But when you start going deeper into all this process, building courses, offering services, then you have to account for your income streams, because this is what, in the end, you're marketing, right? You can see that if the course is $1 on a monthly basis, but the exercise is $2 and the meeting and workshop are $25, when I'm putting out this course, what is the real thing that I'm trying to sell? The $25 one, the higher package. I'm still aiming at some one-time fees for the download and the recurring membership for the sign-in. So in one offer, I'm actually looking at 3 income streams. This is one thing that we often fail to account for. This is actually, for me, the driving point between any strategy, because my prospect journey is meant to bring you from the point of contact to the transaction and the ongoing relationship: acquisition, conversion, retention. Okay, so approach that maybe that way, or the simplest way would be basically simplifying the course amount that you're putting here and testing that approach to see how that works. Ask also, what has been the feedback of customers when they look at your content, when they come into this space? Do they get overwhelmed? Do they see it clearly? Do they see the path before them? Do you need to be here to guide them through the process? Technically, this is what the chat robot would step in for when it's done. In this case, it's not for me, but you balance those out. Questions, answer, share, comments?
Lori's asking something. I'm not sure I understand the question. Something about text to audio books.
Oh,
Lori, can you elaborate?
well, for example, there are um, when you write your script, okay, what you can do basically is use some, there are applications that will read it back to you, right? You can record that, and that becomes the audio version of your book, right? For example, which I don't remember which software was do. I think Otter does that, right? You can give it text and he will read it back to you, right? So if you follow the process, I'm going to write my course. I'm going to give it to Author. It's going to transcribe it. Go ahead, Keisha. I think you're versed in those options there.
Yes, there's several that do. I have one on my Chrome that's called text to speech, and it's literally just a Chrome extension, and I can read any website.
Oh,
Before I
beautiful.
learned about that one, I just used to copy and paste stuff, drop it in Word, and then tell Word to read it. But
Beautiful.
yeah, there are a lot of text to speech options because I'm to, I'm actually dyslexic, so reading digital products does not necessarily allow me to retain the information. So I either need
Mm-hmm.
to print it or I need to hear it. So I definitely engaged that process in being able to move forward faster.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually just a Chrome extension
Uh,
called text to
uh,
speech.
okay. So
Okay.
I'm
But they,
I'm
they,
gonna
they have like
go ahead.
4 of them that I remember.
Okay. Definitely text to speech is something that you can use. You should use if you're considering audiobook, if you're and by the way, Keisha, you know the method by which you learn is actually very common to all of us. Eh? When we hear something, it pings in our head. But to really take it in, we have to read it. Sometimes if we're too tired, we want it to be repeated. So this is actually a lot in common. And if you
Yes,
keep that in
so
mind, huh?
there's a level of learning that says it's one thing to hear something because you only retain about 3% of what you hear. But if you hear and write, then it jumps up to like 10 or 15. If you read, if you learn, if you listen to it, write it down with the intention of teaching it, you jump up to like 60%. And it
Mhm.
actually, and with repetition, that can definitely
Yeah.
increase. So I always learn with the intention of teaching, and I normally find a study buddy, of course, of sorts, where literally whatever it is I'm learning, I literally have a meeting booked every day of the week with a different person where I'm
Mm,
talking about a specific topic with that person, because that's how I retain information quickly to be able
mm.
to learn all these things that I'm trying to learn at once.
I love it. That is, and it comes back to what we are. I'm always also, and we always, I mean, hearing is one thing, practicing builds that muscle memory, right? Remember, when you're having your hand do things, you're forcing your brain to remember. So you're actually etching it into your mind frame. As simple as that. And doing it on repeat will help you even get more skillful at the delivery, right? And in this space, yes, if you are coming into this space to be a leader, then everything you learn should be with the intent of passing it on, right? And that comes back to what we've been doing. Map out your process as you are following it yourself, because that creates the blueprint for yourself, but also what you will pass on as learning content. We covered that as well. Everything that we're doing or that we're talking is in line with what we should be doing. The
Yeah,
rest is doing
I
it over
definitely,
and over and over.
yeah, I literally write SOP when I'm doing anything new, which is why I've made such a great admin, because I would literally train my replacements before I left, because I literally left you a how-to manual that was if this then this, if this then this. You did. I can take very complicated jobs and a monkey can do it when I leave.
That's the process, breaking it down so anybody, neophyte or elite, can attest for that. Thank you for the share, Keisha. Audrey, you want to add something? 2 minutes before the last. Lori, I wasn't able to go to the flow. I will do it for the email and such. Again, I'm promising too much things these days. I have to be careful because I have some pending tutorials that haven't been done. When it's done, I think it will get everything that we're looking for, because I'm going to start from the beginning. The digital card, I think that brings into the email, since the digital card itself is a funnel asset. As we discussed last time, it gives you what you options to go see on digital, on social media, what you are, but also that offer, that opt-in form that leads into the next part of our funnel exercise, the retention or conversion through email process and the follow-up. So I think when I complete those, you also will have that workflow from setup to running your marketing assets, and the rest would be using the now site flow overall for the strategy in the field, getting people to see those assets, getting these people to come to us, getting these people to opt into our income streams eventually. Make sense? Perfect. I didn't prepare anything, but I think we had a very passionate discussion today, and I love it. Tomorrow, I hope we'll have more conversation like that, more points, because the devil is in the detail, really. These small things are what makes the difference. Overall, we always have a good idea of where we're going, but it's the small things that we need to add or remove that will make the path before us clear and efficient. Go ahead, Ojer, before the last.
Just one quick question, non-related, but I know you all, somebody knows. A recommendation. I'm practicing doing Zoom presentations. I'm creating webinar, and I need a telecom prompter compatible with Zoom. I just thought somebody might know of one. I don't have to research too much. That's it. That's
Oh,
all I
yeah.
was curious if you knew, or if Robert might know, or if not, I'll do the research.
Mhm.
I would
Well,
say
we'll
That-
all research it because it's a good question. I don't use a
Okay,
teleprompter. I should. That will help me more articulate better. Because sometimes, as
that's
you can tell, I'm
okay.
hard to understand there. But go ahead, Robert. Do you have
I was
recommendation?
actually I was going to say the opposite. I do not use a teleprompter, right? And my big thing that I was going to say is whenever you're doing your speeches in your prompts or whatever that you want to say, get out of your head and get into your heart. That's all I got.
I love that.
Oh, right. You are
Oh, I love
absolutely
that. I'm going to
right.
use that, Robert. Unless it's copyrighted, I'm going to use that. Go ahead, Keisha.
Uh, what is it? A Q
Comp-
prompter. Q prompter.
prompter. Okay,
A Q
great. Thank
prompter.
you
Okay,
so
use
much.
it. But I would say factor in the advice of Robert. If you're going to use it, only have your points,
Outline.
PowerPoints,
Mhm.
so that way you can
Exactly.
naturally flow between them. Basically, you make sure that you're hitting your point through the conversation, but you freestyle naturally within. Okay, I
And
think
That's
that's the
lastly,
best
absolutely
point.
right.
and
Yes.
lastly,
Excellent.
Audrey, own the message, my friend. Own the message.
On the message.
Absolutely.
Got
Have
it.
a great day.
Since we're
Awesome.
at the end, Keisha, I'll let Rita go and then we'll end it for today. Go
Well,
ahead, Rita.
hi, thanks. Great training. You're a true gem. And also that to with Audrey's point, Audrey, when you're speaking to someone, they can track your eyes. So if you're on a presentation, I know when you're reading, and which leads to Coach Blakely's point that own the message. You already know the stuff. They don't. So you're presenting it. You're the expert. Don't worry about it. Just speak from your heart. Thanks.
That was also a great point. That was
Excellent.
something that I
Thank
learned
you.
in customer service. You own the conversation when people come, right? So don't be afraid of your delivery, especially if it's your information. I stand by what I put forward. I will defend it. And there is no right or wrong answer. Anyways, you might have points that will embellish or reinforce what we're discussing, right? So, yes. And my eyes are showing that I own my message. No. It was a joke. And see you guys tomorrow. I hope again this was valuable. And yeah, we'll keep on growing. Oh, there's a few things that most likely you are seeing. The interface is shifting a little bit with NowSite. So most likely I'm waiting for it to be done because there are a few things coming through. And when it's done, basically, I'll redo a few on these onboarding to introduce the new interface. But for the rest of
Thank
the
you.
mechanic, everything is the same. Okay.
Thank you,
Have a
because it was
great,
driving me nuts. I just did my onboarding.
yeah. When I saw that, I was like, oh, well, master. What is the master of learning? Repetition,
That's okay, because what I'm going to
right?
do is link it to yours. I'm not
Ah,
doing it again.
well, use the resources. I can't say no to that.
I'm not doing it
Perfect.
again. I'm linking it to yours. Thank you very much.
I'll see you guys tomorrow. There are some people waiting for the next course there. And
All right.
yeah, let's bring more subjects of conversation and see where we can, how do we can embellish that. And really, big takeaway, let's all start thinking about what are our income stream. Because the more income stream we have, the better it is for us in the end.